Hi, I'm Amy Love, and welcome to today's Parenting in the Age of AI Facebook Live, brought to you by Discovering AI. I'm Amy Love. I'm the founder of Discovering AI, and what a gorgeous, glorious day it is today in California. I know parts of the United States is actually having some severe weather, as well as some portions of it from a cold standpoint, also from a heat standpoint. But certainly I can say here in California today, it's just absolutely a gorgeous, beautiful day. I'm so glad you could be with us though. And I want to start it off just right out of the gate and ask you a really simple yet powerful question. And that is, if you could get 15 minutes back every single day as a parent, what would you do with it? That's today's topic. So when we think about it, I want to share that what we're going to discuss in the Parenting of Age of AI is this exact question. And I want you to leave and walk away from this Facebook Live session with a couple key nuggets that you can bring into your family and even think about how you might even try and experiment with AI as we go forward. So with that, just as a reminder, we do these Facebook Lives every Wednesday at noon Pacific time on Wednesday. And I'm so glad that you could join us for today's topic, which is the question I started off at the beginning. If you have a second, go ahead and drop a comment, if you would, in the chat. If you could get 15 minutes back every single day as a parent, what would you do with it? Would you choose to take an extra long bath, maybe light a candle, turn on some music? Would you go for a short run? Would you just spend some quality time with your spouse or significant other? Would you let it build up and maybe go take a massage? Would you maybe spend some extra time with your kids? Go out and shoot some hoops or play catch or bake a cake with your child in the midst of the hustle and bustle of every single day and the school week and the work week? If you literally could get 2.5 hours back during the work week, school week, and then an extra half an hour on the weekend, maybe you could squeeze in an AFE video at the end of the weekend with skipping through commercials. But there's really power in this concept about how do you get time back? And you may be asking, so what does that have to do with AI? This is really the evolution of where AI is going. When I think about parenting, I think about where we are, why this topic is one that I wanted to write about in this week's newsletter and focus in on our MindSpark activity this week, as well as talk about it on our Parenting in the Age of AI conversation, is that I find that parenting decisions really aren't typically that hard. They're just constant, right? When we look at weekend plans, birthday gifts for parties, managing the week's schedule ahead, trying to figure out carpools and drives and how we're going to get from point A to point B and who's picking up who when. And then, oh my gosh, Mom, I actually need rocks for my terrarium. And oh, I've got this assignment where now I need an extra set of clothes to go with the drama tryouts that are going to be here. It's this kind of overwhelm accumulation of a lot of these smaller but time-consuming tasks that can get thrown on our plates unexpectedly. So I'm not usually one who's overwhelmed by complexity. I definitely, though, can get overwhelmed by just the sheer accumulation and especially last-minute things that can come my way. So when I think about this and where AI is, it's really important to recognize that things are changing in a real way. And I oftentimes describe AI like this. It has moved from preschool to well past PhD at some of the most prestigious universities around the world in under just 2 years. That's how fast it's actually learned and grown and matured. People need to realize now that it's no longer just search, right? It's no longer just searching for an answer. AI can now start to reason, suggest, and even personalize its responses to you through its own previous interactions with you without you having to put all that information in again, let alone, again, saving you time. Let me give you a real life example of this. I have to admit, March in our household is usually fully consumed with the concept of Girl Scout cookies. My daughter sets a big goal every year, and in order to achieve that cookie goal, she needs to be out at booths every single weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, interacting with the public, fulfilling orders for people that order online, but she is all about cookies. As the troop leader, I'm all about working with my cookie leader around spreadsheets and picking up cookies and distributing them out to others. So our march is just flat out for 7 straight years has been solely about Girl Scout cookies. This year, GS NorCal, our council, moved up the cookie sale by a couple of weeks. So guess what? My daughter and I all of a sudden have 2 weekends in March that we haven't had free in over 7 years. And I was trying to think about what we might do. And the reality is, I don't even know where to start, because for 7 years I have been very tunneled vision on what it is we do every single March. So I went to Google Gemini, which knows me pretty well. I have an iPhone, I use Google Photos and I use Gmail, and my business accounts are set up on Google in the cloud. So Google knows me pretty well. And I clicked the button that said AI mode. I didn't just use regular search, I clicked AI mode. And in doing so, it now is bringing in all the knowledge and the experiences it has from my past searches and inquiries to have an idea about who I really am. So I simply just typed in the question in AI mode, what is something my daughter and I could actually do this weekend? That's all I asked. And what came back was really eye-opening. It actually came back with 3 recommendations. And what was really nice about that is it wasn't overwhelming, right? It wasn't so many questions that I had to feel of, oh my God, I got to go through all of these. It just simply came back with 3. So what it did is it wasn't so much the answers it gave me that really mattered. It was the fact that it gave me a starting point. It gave me a starting point of 3 interesting ideas. So I went from a blank page of going, oh, what are we going to do this weekend and next weekend, to 3 viable options in just seconds. And those seconds turn into minutes and turn into significant time if we're not careful. And what was really fun, I talk about this, I actually have a video out and I talk about it in the newsletter as well that came out today. It came back with 3 ideas. One was the Cat's Hill race. Another one was an immersive game box experience that you can go. And then the third was to go to Vasona. Vasona is a lake here nearby our house. What was interesting about it is it truly knew us. Why? My daughter and I love to be in the outdoors, and we love sports, and we love having fun competing together with things. And so all 3 recommendations were truly personalized to us. But what was really amazing to me is it brought to my attention something I was completely unaware of. I happen to live on the east side of Los Gatos. It's about 2 to 3 miles away from the downtown area of our little town. And certainly in March, I am never in downtown. I'm out at cookie booths. And it talked with me about that there is a bike race, a road bike race, a criterion bike race called the Cat's Hill Race. And lo and behold, this is the 50th anniversary of it. And it has brought the likes of some of the most world famous cyclists to compete in this race, including Greg LeMond has competed in this race. And it's a 1-mile circuit, and the pros do 40 laps, and there's a 23% incline at one point in time in the race, very tight turns and twists. And I had never heard of it. I didn't hear about it from a flyer. I didn't learn about it through Nextdoor. I didn't learn about it through having been in the downtown area before. Instead, AI, through personalized AI search, knowing that my daughter and I love to be involved with our community, love to be outdoors, love to be physically active, came back with such a unique idea for us. And so it's not that AI made a decision for me. It came back with a starting point. It came back with ideas, but not overwhelming ideas. It came back with personalized ideas that really relate to me. Now, I could have spent 10, 15, 20 minutes writing friends, posting on Nextdoor, asking questions. Instead, in under a second, I got these sort of quality inputs back. Now, the reality is, it also suggested this immersive game box. Now, that sounds interesting, but certainly not when we're sitting here with this beautiful California weather. The last thing my daughter and I would ever want to do is go indoors. Yet, the next time it rains, now I've got a unique, different idea of something that really fits with our personality. And then the third suggestion it made, it's one we've already done many times. We are consummate bike riders around Vasona Lake. We have done the paddle boats and we've really experienced our time there. So while that one wasn't a good fit because it wasn't unique or different in that we've got two like almost miraculously brand new weekends for us that we haven't been used to having, we wanted to do something different. But it was still totally on track with what it is that we enjoy doing. And that's where I think AI, when you think about the power and the potential, is when it truly gets to know you, that it can give you something beyond a blank slate. Another way I've started to use it, and this one requires a little more input, is my daughter loves going to friends' birthday parties, especially at 13. It's really important to give the right gift that is meaningful to the recipient. And it's been a while since I've been 13, and I'm certainly not fully attuned to everything that is of interest to the 13-year-olds. And I find typically when I ask Maddie, what do you think we should get? Oh, I don't know. Once in a while she'll come back and say, we need to go to Ultra Beauty and we could get this or this because this person will love it. But oftentimes I get blank stares back, and then it kind of lands on me as the mom that says, okay, what kind of gift am I going to come up with? I've gotten to the point where I actually just default to the easy gift. Who doesn't like gift cards? I typically now give my daughter a Amazon gift card and then she creates the card and that's been the gift. But now I can use AI mode and say, help me think through some really thoughtful birthday gifts for this 13-year-old person. And I could tell a little bit about who they are, what they like to do by asking my daughter for those inputs. And then have it come back with recommendations. And now all of a sudden I'm engaging my daughter in a very thoughtful way, where she is then thinking, oh, that really lands, or oh, no, that doesn't really land. Oh, we could build upon this, or that would be really cool. All of a sudden, it engages her in a much more empathetic, thoughtful way of considering what might be something that her friends would really enjoy that would be different than just simply handing her an Amazon gift card. And at the end of the day, that's part of being a parent and helping build those skill sets within your child in terms of how they emotionally relate to those around them. So when we think about it, the reality is it's important for us all as families to understand that AI is not going to be replacing our thinking. Or at least I should say it could, but we don't want it to. We don't want AI to replace our thinking. We want instead for it to accelerate our starting point. We want it to be our tool that we use to help us come up with new, novel solutions or ideas or creativity or programs or solutions to the world's problems, not outsource our decision making to it. And we can model this behavior through simply these two simple examples. What do we do with 2 extra weekends that all of a sudden we find ourselves having? Or even down to how do we find a truly personalized, reasonably priced gift or gift ensemble that incorporates your child in thinking through it. So for parents, what this really means is when we do these things, we actually start to get small pockets of time back. Rather than starting with that blank slate and having to put all the effort and energy into it while we're also thinking about that work call or the bills we need to pay or how we're going to get them to sports or dance practice. If instead we can, instead of sitting there with everything in front of us and having to tackle every single one, if we can start to use AI, this is where it really starts to matter. It helps us with critical thinking, with decision making, with initiative when we start to drive it that way. So the reality is for us is we don't want to raise children who are reliant on AI, but instead we want to really raise our children to know how to use AI and to recognize that these skill sets are going to be essential when they move into the workforce. Because as they learn how to think about these ideas, it makes a huge difference. So one way we do that is through our weekly Mind Sparks. And we put out these Mind Sparks every single Friday. And they're designed to provide families with a very easy way to engage with AI in 10 to 15 minutes and start to get to know how it works, to start having some open conversations with your family about it, but in a way in which it's really meaningful. And so for this week's Mind Spark, it's really about ask a real question, evaluate it together, and then think about how you could improve the prompt. What additional information could you give? Because the reality is for young people today with such a powerful tool of AI, the skill set that they're most going to need to know in the age of AI is to know how to ask better questions. And they know how to ask better questions as an experience base of having actually used it and tried it. And the reality of knowing how to ask a better question is truly a lifelong life skill. And so when we think about how AI is becoming more personalized, give it a try, give it a test, and see if getting 15 minutes back in your day doesn't just make life a little bit calmer, a little bit easier, because I do believe those 15 minutes every day, that hour and a half, I'm doing my math incorrectly, that hour and 15 minutes that you can get back every work and school week, and the extra half an hour you could get back on the weekend, that really, truly matters. It can matter for you and just your own ability to do some quiet time for yourself, or to think about doing a meal project with your kids, or simply having the chance to get caught up on some work rather than staying up really late. But 15 minutes a day for an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 45 minutes during the week, over time, that really is where you can see the opportunity you have to use AI in a way that doesn't outsource your thinking, but instead empowers you to be able to move forward, not from a blank slate, but from ideas of AI personalized, knowing information about you and your family. So as we wrap up this week's Parenting in the Age of AI conversation and where we are, I just want to encourage you to please make sure you sign up for this week's, or go visit this week's newsletter, which is all about this topic. It should be in the comments for you, the link. You can also sign up for receiving our newsletter and our MindSpark every single week in your inbox with a separate link. And then I just want to truly encourage you to think about it from the standpoint of how can you and your family create more, consume less as it comes to technology, and preserve that special time that truly makes your engagement with your family so special. Thanks so much. Wishing you a great week. Bye-bye.